And let's look at it from two fronts. The front that is most relevant, which is, according to the new government, is, and that's where the famous Zakayo comes from. Our president's ideal strategy is to tax more. So we look at that, we look into the specifics of the bill, and then we look at the options for tax optimization, where we don't have to tax people more, but we really optimize whatever we're collecting. And see. So let's begin with what the current regime is doing, which is they need more money. We're just gonna go out to the people, and then we're gonna tax everything. So the ethics of this, because part of it also touches in basic human life. So if you're taxing things that involve food for people, education, healthcare, and essentially making it more expensive for guys to afford this. I just want to look at the ethics of that, because that speaks to our survival as human beings, Then I'd like to also understand the devolution aspect of this. So national government versus the responsibility of the county government. I think let's play within that, and then we'll look at the option of what if our president was after optimization of taxes instead of collecting more taxes all the time.
Okay. Yeah. That's I'll start with in the government now, remove taxation and maybe remove budget and everything. We have two policies, and we usually have a monetary policy and a fiscal policy. So fiscal policy is regulated. Fiscal policies deals with taxation, borrowing, and government expenditure. Monetary policy is CBK deals with that, and it deals with the flow of money in the economy and technically inflation and whatnot, and those issues around inflation. Remember, early this year our shilling was eating 170, and it went all the way down. So from an economic perspective, I'm not an economist, but the little I know about economy is you have to balance both. You have to balance taxation, and you also have to balance the money in circulation. So a problem that we had, and I would say probably does not start with this regime, the previous regime, the Uhuru regime, our loan, as the government was taking it, our loan portfolio was around 2 trillion. By the time Uhuru Kenyatta was leaving the government, our loan was around 9 trillion, almost hitting 10 trillion, because I remember Parliament kept increasing something called a debt ceiling. So we have a debt ceiling where our money cannot go beyond that specific ceiling, and if you need to borrow more, you have to now go back to Parliament, and Parliament will increase the debt ceiling. So our Parliament kept increasing the debt ceiling, and what this says is that much of our economy for the last 10 years has been financed through loans, and most of these loans, we could say, were unsustainable to some level, because the infrastructure, when you speak about loans, we have external borrowing, and also we have now technically internal borrowing. Internal borrowing is more so like the infrastructure bond that the CBK floats. So technically, if CBK floats an the bond, when you buy the bond, it's like you have lent the government money to maybe
build a highway,
do something, and much of these money loans are specifically for infrastructure. And when you speak about infrastructure, you should look at the infrastructure that was built and the multiplier effect of that specific infrastructure. A multiplier effect means if you build a road, that road should spur economic activities that will lead to government generating more revenue to actually pay that loan back. Thika Road is a good example. The amount of money, it was around 30-something billion. I don't remember the exact amount, but the economic activities around Thika Road, there are so many businesses and whatnot. That's a sustainable loan. An unsustainable loan is, in my opinion, is
expressway.
Let's speak about SGR. I won't mention expressway because expressway has its own dynamics. Kenya being a hub of UN and whatnot, and you don't want them going out because they bring a lot of business as well. And the expressway is actually, assuming someone, a very top delegate, wants to maybe land in Kenya, go to Gigiri quickly and whatnot. So expressway has an economic sense. Let's speak about the SGR. The SGR, the budget, the expenditure around SGR, I don't remember, but it should be hitting around 800 B. 800 billion is a lot.
Those old trains that don't even... Those old trains that don't even move.
Those are the questions that we had an existing railroad and
720 billion.
Okay, that's 720 billion.
Yeah. So I'm sure
they
spent more.
And now look at the economic activities that SGR spurred.
I mean,
at one point they had to force now lorry drivers to have a quota. Lorry drivers will drive on I don't know which days, and the SGR will carry cargo because you wanted the SGR to work and it's not working.
Yeah.
And when you spend such amount of money on a loan, and that loan does not have a multiply effect, what this means is this money must come from somewhere else. And what this means is that either people will be overtaxed or the country will overborrow. And if you overborrow, you have money does not come free. It comes at an interest. So when you have unsustainable loans and you're paying serious interest, what does it mean? This means you have to tax more. And then the cycle goes on and it becomes unsustainable. So I was speaking about the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. Our loan, our currency, assuming now we have serious inflation and the government wants to curb inflation, what does it do? It has to reduce the money in circulation. How do you reduce the money in circulation? Float a lot of infrastructure bonds for people to buy, and the government will have money. Reduce government spending and tax more. You see? Yeah. So technically economic activities will slow down, but there will be a lot of money there will be less money in circulation. And because there's less money in circulation, inflation will. And another thing is that inflation is also affected by our loans, the loans that we used to pay. And that's why we had like serious inflation before the Eurobond restructuring that was done recently. And then our shilling now became sort of stabilized. So there are a lot of dynamics in play when now we speak about taxation. And maybe we should now seek to understand the basics of why taxation is being done. The government needs revenue. You said we can only get 3.4 trillion. Our budget is 3.9 trillion. 500 billion has to be loans. These loans have to be local and international borrowing. And then on top of that, we have government grants funding us. And then we have a lot of taxation. But now we tax more. Going back now to our previous discussion, let's tax more. But as Kenyans are feeling the pinch, is the government actually reciprocating the energy of our taxation? Is it actually giving you are you seeing work being done? I'm not paying a motor vehicle tax for someone to take a chartered flight. And we are trying to reduce emissions. If the discussion is around emissions, a chartered flight has the biggest emissions compared to very many cars, you see.
Over 26. This is the Burger Podcast.
This is the Brunch Club.
Over 26. Welcome back to
The mics are closed.